Today on the Pro-Life podcast, there's a new abortion case at the Supreme Court. It's complicated. We need to talk about this. Let's get started. Happy Thursday, Pro-Life family. Welcome to the table. Pull up a chair, grab your coffee. Got mine. Brent Klingerman, IT Director. There's lots to talk about today. First, the ladies around the table with me.
Kim Schwartz, Director of Media and Communication.
Bailey Sunbeck, Development Associate.
Thanks for joining us. And Bailey, thanks for sitting in again. Veronica is on maternity leave.
She had her baby.
Because the last episode I think we dropped, she was smuggling a basketball still. She had her baby, and she's well. Mom and child are good. So,
praise God.
It's been a weird couple of weeks.
Yes.
There have been a lot of court decisions. There's still some pending stuff. I want to say it's too much, we summarize. But I don't think we can. I think we've got to give the rundown here.
Agreed. So honestly, I'm surprised more people are not paying attention to this case. But ultimately, the Supreme Court, we're at the Supreme Court, and they could decide whether an abortion pill is taken off the market entirely, even in states like New York and California. And so this is a huge case. This only we only have ground to gain here. We don't have anything to lose from the status quo. Right now, abortion is illegal in Texas from the moment of conception. And then you have places like New York and California where they are very much the opposite. But this lawsuit says the FDA improperly approved this medication, this pill, for abortion back in 2000. They rushed through the process. And so they're saying the FDA has to revoke the approval of this abortion pill. That's the question of this lawsuit. And so if we win...
Wait, don't.
Right. So if we win, that means that even in New York, California, all of these places, they can't... abortionists cannot give this pill to kill preborn children. That would be an awesome victory. But even if we lose, then nothing changes from the status quo. There are lives being saved in Texas, other strong pro-life states, and then New York and California. We still got to work on them. We still got to pray.
They're still crazy.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of back and forth, though.
It has been, and it may change between the recording of this and the publishing of this.
True.
There's still, the Supreme Court is in play. Well, they ruled some stuff. Well, there was an opinion. I don't know what the technical terms are on this.
Yeah.
But one judge said, well, we're going to hold off, but we need the whole court to weigh in on this. And so that...
We've gone up and down quite a bit. So this started, I think we mentioned, there's a judge in Amarillo who, this whole case started with him. And he looked at this case. He's had it in front of him since November. So he really gave some thought to the primary question of the lawsuit. Did the FDA follow their standard procedure when approving this abortion pill? It's called mifepristone, for the purpose of killing preborn children. And so he spent a lot of time on that. He realized, there's never been a court that has revoked FDA approval of a drug before. And so that's one of the main arguments that the abortion proponents are saying of the court is just getting out of control. There has never been a judge that has revoked FDA approval of anything before. And yes, that's true. But we've also haven't had a so politically charged, so politically motivated approval for so long as we did for this abortion pill. And you found a fun fact about that.
Yeah, you found some interesting stuff.
So let's rewind back to when Bill Clinton was our president. I found out...
Do we have to? I lived through that once, guys.
Just for a minute. Okay.
I don't quite remember it, but I read things.
There you go.
But anyways... On the second day that Bill Clinton was president, one of the top things on his priority list was getting chemical abortion drugs, mifepristone, onto the market in America to make it, and not only get it onto the market, but keep it on the market. And so this is a big project between him and the FDA. And I even read somewhere that, mifepristone is used for other things like, cancer or AIDS. And in order to make it work for pregnancy, they really had to make pregnancy sound like an illness. They had to call pregnancy an illness. These are in the very early conversations of getting this drug more normalized, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Pregnancy is not an illness.
Right.
It's totally natural. It's a miracle.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Most of us are the product of it.
Most of us.
Most of us. The vast majority of us.
Never mind. I won't say that.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Okay.
But yeah, can we just take a moment to how to realize how dark that is?
Mm-hmm.
That,
Yeah.
You're the president of the United States, one of the most powerful countries in the world. And that is on the top of your priority list, is to get this pill on the market for women and young girls in some cases to take to kill their preborn child.
Mm-hmm.
And to convince everyone that it's okay because we'll just call pregnancy an illness.
Yeah.
Just like cancer is bad, pregnancy is bad.
Yeah.
Try to remember here what was going on in the world. I don't remember things being super at peace. I mean, we had war in the Middle East, which feels like we've had that forever.
Yeah. What else
It's
is
the
new?
majority of my life, right? But that's priority one. Like, it's my second day, inauguration is done. Let's formalize a pill that kills children.
Yeah. And rush it at that. Let's get it on the market as fast as possible. Let's say whatever wording we need to make this make sense.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it just doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And so you see those problems, and you can see just the record and the history of what the FDA had to do to approve this abortion pill. And so now looking back on it, we can see this was wrong for them to do. And the people who brought this lawsuit, it's been 4 pro-life groups, Christian doctors, medical associations, suing the FDA saying, you guys didn't do this right. And the judge even asked, the Amarillo judge said, okay, well, did you try asking the FDA about it? Because, I'm the court. I don't want to be the first one to revoke FDA approval of something. Again, we said this has never been done before.
Right.
But it also, had this, the abortion pill and the way that they approved it was unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And the pro-life people said, we tried to tell the FDA, here's where you're wrong. Can you do something about this? They tried to go through the FDA to get itself to correct itself.
Yeah.
Shockingly, that didn't work.
Weird.
Yes. So then they brought this lawsuit. And praise God, the judge looked at that and was like, I see all of these problems. And he just blasted the FDA for, rushing through the process, for skipping very real concerns about adverse effects and the complications that you can see from taking the abortion drug. And just was the fact that the FDA approved this in the first place for killing preborn children is just outrageous. And so that was the Amarillo judge's ruling. And he said that he put this out on Good Friday, which I think is so poetic that he just wrote this incredible decision that would save lives and put it out on Good Friday, the Lord's Day. And basically saying all right, I'm going to, we, the court, are going to revoke FDA approval of this drug, which means it will not be available for the use of abortion anywhere in the United States. But we're going to give you 7 days for that to take approval. So that was Good Friday. And then last Saturday, it would have taken effect. But because the judge said, I know that this is unprecedented, and he knew too, this is going to go up to all the appeals courts and stuff like that too. Right. So he gave the Biden administration time to appeal. So they took it to the appeals court for our region, and our region, our appeals court, is the most conservative in the entire United States. So we're in good hands. But the appeals court was still a little bit disappointing in their ruling. I didn't expect it to go the way that it did. They said that, we agree that the most recent changes that the FDA did were wrong, but we're not going to take it off the market entirely. And so that was the appeals court decision, was they didn't want to take it off the market entirely for the purpose of elective abortion, but they were going to say, all right, the FDA said, you can use this at 10 weeks, but before you said 7 weeks, we're going to knock this back down to 7 weeks because the extension, that is more dangerous. The preborn child's bigger. It's harder for that pill to kill the preborn child. I hate the way that we have to phrase all of these. And so with at 10 weeks, it is harder for the pill to kill the preborn child. And then you have the baby who is still in you, but is still I don't know, maybe it's he or she is detached from the uterine wall. And now you've just created complications and the child is still alive. And then that requires a follow-up surgical abortion. Big mess. So they were we're going to take this down from 10 weeks to 7 weeks. And then they said, this was one of the Biden administration's changes, saying that you can mail the abortion pill. You don't have to go for an in-person visit to get an ultrasound to see if you have any other complications. We can just mail the abortion pill and you can do it at home and just don't even worry about it. And the appeals court was like, no, don't mail that. These are very recent changes that we can see are dangerous, but again, we don't want to take it all the way off the market.
Yeah.
So that was last Wednesday or Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been busy.
It has. And so as we look at these, I outline all of these, what has happened in the case, so we can get kind of a clear path forward of what might we see coming from the Supreme Court, because now this is at the Supreme Court. And last Friday, one of the Supreme Court judges put out a very quick kind of opinion and said, we're not going to change anything just yet. All right, the whole Supreme Court, all 9 justices, need to look at this case. But whenever you have fast opinions and stuff, they'll usually just assign one judge for one region and decide are we going to take up this case? Are we going to not? Are we going to block this? Or are we not? And so it was just Samuel Alito, who is pro-life. He's the one who wrote the decision overturning Roe v. Wade. So
he's got some street cred.
He does.
Yeah.
But he did pause the ruling that would have taken effect, that would have taken the abortion pill off the market, limited its availability and how it's delivered. He just stopped everything. So right now, as we're recording this, we still have the status quo, the same that was true a month ago, 2 months ago, where abortion is illegal in Texas, but you have, New York, California, they're just giving out abortion pills to anybody who could possibly ever think of it. That's still happening. And so right now, status quo has not changed. But going forward, we hopefully will see a change in how the abortion pill is treated in American law right now, that the other states will slow down their chemical abortions. Obviously, we don't want them to have any abortions at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Realistically, where we are now, limiting chemical abortions in these other states, because chemical abortions have increased dramatically over the last few years.
It's more than half abortions are chemical abortions now using mifepristone.
Yeah. And so it's also important to know that with chemical abortions, it's 2 abortion pills. The first one is mifepristone, and that kills the preborn child. The second one is misoprostol, and that makes the woman's body deliver the deceased child, basically. And these pills are very dangerous. We've talked about that before, and you can see hemorrhaging.
Right.
I have a friend of a friend who was having a miscarriage, and we'll talk more about that in a second of how miscarriage is different. But she had to take one of these pills to, take care of her miscarriage because the child was already deceased. And her husband thought she had died because there was so much blood everywhere. He called 911 and was like, my wife is dead. So that is medical necessity there with the miscarriage. She could not help that. She could not change those circumstances. But the abortion industry turns a blind eye on purpose to these effects and just take these pills, don't worry about it. And we've seen women die from similar situations just because it causes so much excessive bleeding. So that's the situation with where we are right now with this lawsuit. Status quo is continuing. We could see more news at at the Supreme Court level, they hopefully will, take the abortion pill off the market. And then we can talk in a second about how the abortion industry is going to respond to that.
Cool. But we will talk about that in a second. First, we need to take a quick break, so we'll be right back. Texas Right to Life is facing 14 lawsuits from Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. They're suing us because we helped pass the Texas Heartbeat Act, and they're trying to scare us pro-lifers into backing down. Please join us in the fight against Planned Parenthood and donate to protect the Texas Heartbeat Act. You can fight for the unborn and build a pro-life Texas that values every human life. Go to texasrighttolife.com/lawsuit to make your contribution. Every cent will help, and it's greatly appreciated.
Without warning, you or your loved one could end up in the emergency room where every second counts and your medical wishes matter more than ever. However, if your loved one doesn't have the right medical documents on hand, they may not be able to make decisions for you in a crisis. My Life Angels solves all of this by walking you through step by step in creating these important medical documents and storing them online securely for you and your family to access at any time. The service is only $7 a month, but use the link in our description for 20% off your initial subscription period. Don't let strangers make life and death decisions for you. Get the My Life Angels app today.
Welcome back, friends. So, real quick, let's finish the thought on miscarriage being different.
Yes.
Because it is a different thing.
Yeah.
We are treating a pregnancy that has ended of natural causes.
Yes.
As opposed to killing the child and then dealing with the aftermath.
Exactly.
This is basically the difference in a nutshell. So
yeah.
There you go.
One of my favorite Instagram accounts is Secular Pro-Life. They put out a lot of great arguments and content. And one thing that they often say is that abortion and miscarriage are different in the same way that like cremation and burning someone alive are different. Okay.
That's a good that's a good summary.
And I don't want to sound insensitive to women who have experienced miscarriage at all. It's just like this conversation that abortionists are pushing is so insidious that they're saying that losing a child of natural causes is the same as killing a child intentionally. And that is just a terrible, we're not the ones making that argument. That is the abortionists. And so for anyone who has heard this argument that abortion and miscarriage are the same thing, okay, you can find a similarity. Good for you. Like the procedures might be similar. What is the difference? And we have to ask ourselves that. And in the same way, it's cremation versus burning someone alive. You know, the child in a miscarriage has passed away naturally, and we grieve with those women because that's just a heartbreaking situation. And elective abortion is taking that child's life intentionally. These are not the same thing. And so the abortionists here are saying, well, if the court takes away the FDA approval of mifepristone, this abortion-inducing drug, then that means women won't be able to have their miscarriages treated because they can use similar drugs and procedures. Yes, the last half of that is true, that they use similar drugs and procedures. Let's roll back to the question of this lawsuit.
Right.
And I want to remind everybody that a court can only answer the question that you ask it. And so the question of this lawsuit is, did the FDA properly approve this drug for this purpose? It is not asking, did the FDA approve this drug in all purposes? And so the court can't say, we're going to take away mifepristone, not just for elective abortion, but for all things, for this thing and this thing. And you mentioned like it can be used for cancer treatment and other real illnesses. But the court has not said in its ruling, even in that ruling we got from the conservative judge in Amarillo, he did not say we're taking this drug off the market for every purpose. And that's not what the lawsuit asks in the first place. So even if the court rules completely in our favor to the fullest extent possible, it will not revoke FDA approval of the drug for other purposes like miscarriage, only elective abortion. And so what I want to challenge anybody who is sympathetic with that argument that, well, we are concerned that that miscarriage treatment will be affected. Anybody who, can see that that could be a real danger, tell the truth about what the ruling is and what it actually does, and that the purpose is limited to elective abortion for that purpose. But instead, what you're going to see is the media and the abortionists saying like, well, now women can't get miscarriage treatment. And they use that as a Trojan horse because they really want elective abortion, but they know everyone can sympathize with miscarriage. So they use that. And what's going to happen, which is what we've seen in the cases of when women, like in Texas, when their lives are being threatened by their pregnancies, then the media will say, well, she can't get an abortion. And so the doctors are believing we can't do an abortion if the woman's life is in danger. And that's not what Texas law says. I have a point to this. I'm not just on a tangent. So in the same way that you see the media and abortionists misrepresenting Texas law, we've seen this for over a year now, misrepresenting Texas law about miscarriage and other like life-threatening emergencies, and saying that doctors can't do this. Well, the doctors hear that in the media and they're like, oh, they're saying I can't I can't do an abortion to save the woman's life, or they're saying that I can't treat this miscarriage even though the baby's already deceased. They're like, I can't do that, because they hear that in the media. And so with this case too, you're going to see the media saying, well, now doctors can't use mifepristone if the child has miscarried. And the place that the doctors are getting that, if they act accordingly, is from the media. So they're the ones responsible, but they don't care because they want the end result of more abortions. Mm-hmm. That's my tangent. That's my soapbox.
I feel like you're a little tired of having to repeat yourself on this one.
I might be.
I mean, putting it simply, we just want the FDA to be the FDA that it's supposed to be, and not give this pill to people or to women intentionally for the purpose of killing their preborn children.
Exactly.
Yes, use it for all the illnesses, the real illnesses, but don't harm people with this, because that's what they're doing by saying that it's okay. They're harming people. They're killing the pill is killing people.
Yes.
And that's just, it's crazy that we have to explain that.
Yes.
It's crazy that we have to explain. Can the FDA just look out for the American people, especially the preborn children?
You want the government to look out for the American people, do you?
That's a tall order these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like how you put that. And I think it's important to realize the cultural implications that it's had by labeling pregnancy as a disease, treating pregnancy as a disease, where I think there's just this fear of children nowadays, this fear of having babies. Yeah. And it's really heartbreaking because we know that children are a gift from the Lord.
Yeah, but our culture acts like they're a burden.
Yeah.
And yes, raising children is complicated and difficult and messy. So's everything else in life worth doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It is very heartbreaking to realize just how far we've gone from realizing that children are a gift from the Lord.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important for us to celebrate life. Like, not just, I really have been reflecting on Kevin and Tia Edwards' story whenever they, adopted their two children. I don't remember what episode number that was, but if you just...
We'll link it in the description.
Yeah.
It's a really good episode.
And Tia said something that has stuck with me, that, Christ came that we may have life and have it abundantly. He wants us to have life abundantly, not just like bare minimum, don't die. Like, yes, we do need to establish that of like, don't kill people. We are trying to clear that barrier here.
This feels like a very low bar set here.
Yeah.
It is. But then we as pro-lifers, like, okay, we got that. We understand, like, don't kill people, okay? We're good. We're good there. We need to go the extra mile in celebrating life, because if we go higher, if we go toward abundant life, hopefully, by the grace of God, other people will be lifted up and they'll clear that bar of don't kill people too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll get closer to the abundant life, Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
It's a good goal.
Yeah.
It's a good goal.
I imagine what our world would be like if we spent all this say we took all the hours that have gone into these court cases, that have gone into these lawsuits, the FDA bending over backwards to try to explain why this pill is okay and that it's good. And we actually promoted the truth. We were positive about pregnancy. We were positive about women having babies, about families. If we spent all that time trying to figure out how to make more pregnancy resource centers, have more of them in our communities, our world would be so different if we weren't just sitting here trying to
Stop kill people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It does seem like a really basic thought. Like, hey, if we just appreciated living people, it doesn't seem that hard. Yet somehow our culture has forgotten how to do that.
Yeah.
And we spend all this time trying to figure out how to work around. Like, how do I not be inconvenienced by things?
Yeah.
And it's also a glorification of self.
Yes.
Which is a really dangerous place for a culture to be in.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. We let the church drift away from being the center of culture. And this is where we're at now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you know what? I always say God has done a lot more with a lot less.
This is true.
Yeah.
So we're not too far gone, okay? Like, the Holy Spirit, He can do it. We're here. And, you know, like, even we look at the world and it's just like, how did we get here? Like, why are we here? What is God doing? But, you know, we can pray and we can trust and we can lift each other up and go out of our way to, I think in a couple episodes ago, you said like inconvenience ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do as Christians. Like, that's what love requires.
I want to say it was my pastor a few weeks ago said, as the world gets darker, it just makes the light more obvious.
Good point.
So it's not like, oh no, everything else got darker and it's just overtaking. No, dark doesn't overtake light.
Yeah.
That's not science. That's
Nope.
not how it works. I don't care what kind of science we want to invent anymore. That's not science. It's not how it works.
Fair.
Yes.
Fair.
The whole listen to the experts thing.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all, we got to get away from that.
Yeah.
With the FDA saying mifepristone is a therapeutic drug for women and girls
For
to
the
take.
illness of pregnancy.
Yes.
And the CDC saying men can have babies. Like, the experts are wrong.
Yeah. The experts need to do some soul searching, okay? And then we can listen to them again.
Yes.
Yeah. So we just need to remember to be the light wherever we go. And the darkness has to go away because the light is there.
Yeah. Well, I have some good news on
So,
that front.
On that front, that's a good transition. Happy news, please.
Okay. So y'all know we talk about alternatives to abortion quite a bit.
We do.
Yes, we want to give state funding to pregnancy centers, to adoption agencies, to maternity homes. Like,
These are things I'm okay with my tax dollars doing.
exactly. And okay, I'll get on this tangent real quick. Okay, real quick. So even people who have like fiscal concerns about like, do we really want to spend tax dollars on this, and this? Like, even if it's pro-life stuff, Texas operates on a balanced budget. We can only spend what we've already taken in.
Thank the Lord.
Yes. And so we're not printing money. Texas is not printing money out of thin air. Other people are. So this is not a fiscal issue here. We have our tax dollars. Let's put them to good use. And so a couple weeks ago, our ledge team went and they worked like all week. They analyzed over 400 amendments to make sure that we can give as the maximum that the Alternatives to Abortion program needs. So that way women do have the resources to choose life. Like, adoption is expensive and pregnancy centers, like, they are stretched thin.
Yes.
Maternity homes, like, it is, if a pregnant woman doesn't have a place to stay, she can go here, but their beds are like full, like all over the state.
Yeah, I've got some stories about that because my wife is on the board of a pregnancy center and works very closely with them and has had to try and find some beds for some young ladies and called all over the area and far beyond. It is very difficult to find a bed right now.
Yeah.
So
But
obviously they need more resources.
Yeah. The need is there and the desire to provide that is there too.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's only so many dollars. And so that's why the ledge team, the Texas House initially approved $200 million for the Alternatives to Abortion program.
I feel like that's a bit of an increase from the past 2 years.
Double.
Yeah, double.
That's incredible. Yeah, and
I feel like there should be some more like
we should have brought the confetti.
and an explosion or something. No, the building would get really
Man.
mad at us.
No,
But
just pretend.
digital confetti.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. We'll figure that out maybe.
Exactly. So double the amount that we've ever had before for alternatives to abortion. We now have $200 million that's going to take effect in 2024 and 2025 for pregnancy centers, adoption agencies. These are nonprofits that like contract with the state. So whenever they provide counseling or diapers and formula, stuff like that, the state reimburses them through this program. And then that basically like doubles, it increases what they're able to provide to the community, like even through the private donations that they get and then the state funding, like we're able to make a bigger impact. And that's incredible. And so they've also mentioned that there was like a 43% increase in women visiting alternatives to abortion centers. And so we see that like massive increase. We see that there's a need here, but it's also really encouraging because that means that these women who like, they didn't just come out of nowhere. You know, these women were probably already here. And many of them in their same circumstances in the past may have chosen abortion because it was legal in Texas up until like a year-ish ago.
Yeah.
And so now they know where to go because of the Alternatives to Abortion program, the life-saving pregnancy centers and adoption agencies that we have in our communities. And so that's some really good news that, you know, we're working on it. We're not just anti-abortion. We are pro-life.
But Kim, you say a year-ish. It's been almost a year, but I was told the sky was going to fall and there would be just dead women in the streets.
That's what we've been told. Nope.
But
somehow,
that hasn't happened yet.
The doomsday predictions of the abortionists somehow were exaggerated.
Weird.
Yeah, the media doesn't know that, but maybe by the grace of God, they'll figure it out one day.
So as we celebrate this huge victory in the legislative session, I just want to ask everyone who's listening to pray for our legislative team. We have 4 lobbyists. If you want to get a pen and paper out, their names are Ashley, Samantha, Rebecca, and John. They work tirelessly, hours on end, trying to fight for victories like the $200 million increase. And they're amazing at what they do. And they would not be there if it was not for donors of Texas Right to Life.
Amen.
So please pray for them and consider donating. There's still a couple months left in the legislative session. There's still stuff that needs to get done.
And this victory isn't final either with alternatives to abortion. Like we cleared this first hurdle of getting it to the amount that it needs in the budget. The budget's not approved until the end of May-ish, and it's got to be signed by the governor. So there's still more hurdles to clear. So be in prayer that we still like continue that and that we're able to accomplish other victories. It's not just alternatives to abortion isn't just the one thing we want to do. We need to make sure that we're stopping illegal abortions, that we are holding abortionists accountable, that we're doing other things like helping adoption be more affordable. All of these, like this huge legislative agenda, the biggest agenda we've ever had in a legislative session, because now we don't have the shadow of Roe v. Wade. There's a lot to accomplish. It is not over till it's over.
It's absolutely right. I can't imagine trying to go through 400 amendments.
Nope.
To figure out
Hard pass.
what all they do and whether or not they're good or bad. No. Nope. Sorry. Rebecca, thank you. You and your team. Oh my gosh.
Praise God.
Incredible.
400 amendments.
Yeah.
And that's
for $200 million.
For $200 million. And that's the one issue. There's all the other issues. There will be other revisions of laws and amendments and things, and I don't know.
Hot mess.
I should better know how all of that stuff works. It's really complicated and messy, and I don't know as well as I ought to. But I'm very thankful for our team in Austin who goes and they deal with all these things, and they're experts at this.
Yeah.
And going through all these amendments and reviewing and meetings and talking to all the legislators on you guys' behalf. You guys watching at home.
Exactly.
They're doing that to represent your opinion.
Yeah.
So thanks, team. Appreciate you guys.
Yes. But also don't forget, so, be in prayer for the Ledge team. Be in prayer that we will finalize the alternatives to abortion victory and many other victories, hopefully this session. but also be in prayer for a life-saving outcome in this FDA lawsuit, because it's not going to be over for a little while here. So that we'll have good wisdom on the part of the judges, discernment, and that the Holy Spirit will move them to see the FDA was wrong.
Yeah.
Lots to pray for.
Yes.
Lots to discuss. Friends and neighbors, with your friends at church, with your friends across the street or down the road or at the grocery store if you're into having really intense conversations at the grocery store. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing weekend. We love you. We'll see you next time.